Order with Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Look at this, we got all 7 of us here tonight.
I know.
It was an odd last 3 meetings. Kind of nice. Kurt Cody, would you do a roll call of the board, please?
Supervisor Milky.
Here.
Treasurer Rogers.
Here.
Trustee Lannon.
Here.
Trustee Lay. Here. Trustee Ulver.
Present.
Trustee Thering.
Here.
And Clerk Cody here.
I guess I was supposed to.
All present. Celebrate. We have a very light agenda in front of us this evening. Spring break's coming up for many, so I'm okay with that actually. But happy and entertain motions.
Move to approve the agenda?
Support.
Move I.
Yeah, I know.
You're right.
I'm a little exhausted
Was
tonight.
That's
My
wrong.
that the
apologies.
wrong motion?
It's like, now what?
Motion by Rogers. Support by Ulver. Yeah, would you like to do that over?
That's my new favorite right there.
Second time it's happened, actually. And this time I didn't forget your name. I just was.
Yeah.
Anyways.
What's my
yeah.
line?
We have a motion on the floor to accept the agenda as presented. Any discussion? Seeing none. All in favor of approving the agenda as presented, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Agenda passes unanimously. We have no presentations nor public hearings tonight, so we'll open up with public comment, which is restricted to 3 minutes regarding items on this agenda. If you choose to address the public, please state your name and address for the record. And with that, we'll open up public comment at 7:02 p.m. Let the record.
There are 2 people online.
Let the record show there is no one here in person this evening. We do have a couple people connected remotely. We'll give you just a moment if you do want to address the public. You need to electronically raise your hand to get attention. Seeing no hands being raised, going once. Going twice. Let the record show nobody coming forward at this time, and we'll close it, public comment at 7:02 p.m. That brings us to current list of boards and commissions. I don't think we have any business there. Anybody have any comments? March monthly activity report. I don't think it's in the packet, but we got it basically through our, in many ways, the first business item, although it covers most of 25. It is? How did I miss that? Oh, yeah, my apologies. I spent my time reading that first business item. That was a lot of fun. Planning Commission, EDA and ZBA updates by our Community and Economic Development Director, Mr. Nanny.
Thank you. A fairly light report as well. We did not have a zoning board of appeals meeting, no agenda items. We also did not have an EDA board meeting. We have a challenge with having a quorum present for that meeting, so canceled. But we did have a planning commission meeting last Tuesday. They had a fairly busy agenda. They had 2 public hearings. One was for rezoning. Ron and Denise Morey asking the rezoning their acreage over at River Road. This is an item that originally came to us as a request for a variance from the zoning board of appeals, which ultimately was denied after great discussion. And so they have chosen to pursue a change to the zoning district. It's currently zoned R2A, which is kind of a semi-urban residential district. They're proposing to rezone to agriculture, which is actually consistent with our master plan. And doing that would give them the ability to have a larger building on the property. This was all about expanding an existing building on the property. And moving to the ag district allows a larger structure, and so it allowed them to complete the project that they desired to complete So that hearing was held, the Planning Commission did make a recommendation in favor of that rezoning. It's currently in the hands of the County Planning Commission. They have 30 days to review it, and you can expect to see it on a future agenda for your consideration. The other hearing was for a special use permit. This is associated with our new Ace Hardware that is going in over the northwest corner of Isabella Road and M20. The special use permit part is for the outdoor storage and display areas. The former Mount Pleasant Party Rental Center that was there had some outdoor storage and displays, but when we did our research, we could not find any record of a special use permit for what the ordinance calls an open air business. And so we asked them to go through that process for this. They've been working in the building. They're getting very close to opening. My understanding is they'll be opening early next month. And so this was kind of the last step. Planning Commission held that hearing for the special use permit, and they approved it ultimately. So we'll be seeing that project moving forward, and looking forward to the opening of that new business center as well. The Planning Commission also approved their own 2025 report, annual report. You'll be seeing that in a future agenda packet. It basically lists all the applications that they reviewed and acted on, and also lists applications that were reviewed and acted on administratively. So there's a number of things now can be approved administratively by the zoning administrator. It has some other items that they worked on, including, for example, reviewing the city master plan and making comments or recommendations to the city planning commission about items of mutual interest in that document. The last item they had, this is March is the month that the planning commission elects their officers. They did elect officers. The chair did not change, but they have a new vice chair. Commissioner Hayes was elected vice chair. And they also have a new zoning board of appeals representative, one of our brand new members, Commissioner Thompson, offered to become the zoning board of appeals representative. So it was a great meeting. The two new members fit right in and jumped right into the mix for the discussion. So it's a good group. And with that, I'm happy to answer your questions.
Not seen any. Thank you for your report.
Thank you.
Board member reports. Trustee Olver?
You know, I had 4 points to make about the Planning Commission, and Director Nanny did an excellent job of hitting on all 4 of them. So I would just add my congratulations to Chairman Squatrito for his service and continuing. His term, of course, was just re-upped. And Commissioner Lapp, who is continuing in the secretary role. So I agree, a good group, very engaged. Philip Brown has filled in the role as a vice secretary, a very important role when the secretary has to not be at a meeting. So I know that because I held that for 7 months on the Planning Commission and did not have to take meeting minutes one time. So, but appreciate all of them stepping up to serve, and appreciate the great job that the staff does to prepare the Planning Commission for solid discussions and good decision making. So thank you. I also did my warrants today, and everything was in order.
Fantastic. Thank you. Yep. Trustee Lannon?
Yeah, good evening. Thank you. I did attend 3 meetings since our last meeting. The first one was March 10th, the Isabella County Board of Commissioners, Finance Committee, and Committee of the Whole. And they moved forward for consideration and approval some items. 2 of the items have to do with battery energy storage, and they moved a letter of agreement for professional services with Fay and Schultz for services related to the forthcoming battery energy storage system project, as well as they are considering approving a professional service agreement with the Spicer Group for services related to the application for special land use and site plan review for the forthcoming battery energy storage. Also, they moved to consider approving a proposal for reimbursement of approximately $32,000, as there was a situation where a person was evicted from their property and there were 24 dogs involved.
Oh, jeez.
So Hats took those dogs in, all of them needing more than the average help with their health, and it came to a pretty excessive amount, and the board is considering helping Hats cover some of those costs. Also, they went through their list of review and assessment of their 2% requests. There were requests that came from the Commission on Aging, the Sheriff's Office, Parks and Recreation, Drain Commission, Material Recovery Center, Isabella Conservation District, and the Humane Animal Treatment Society. Also, as mentioned, that in June they'll be having their haz waste and their tire collection out at the fairgrounds on a date in June.
They don't have a date set yet.
There is a specific
Okay.
date. It is in June. On the 18th of March, I attended the Isabella County Council of Governments that was held out at Deerfield Township. The presenter was Director of Public Safety for the City of Mount Pleasant, and he gave us a presentation on homelessness of Isabella County, more specifically in Mount Pleasant and Union Township. And everybody was quite intrigued by the information and statistics he provided, and presentation of pictures and statistics. He spoke about panhandling, which isn't necessarily that we see on the streets, but that's not necessarily from homeless people, although it can be. Talked about a number of encampments where folks kind of create their residence, and the processes they've had to go to clean up some of the encampments, and what's entailed there. It's a lot of removal of debris, also dangerous situations of a lot of sharps in those areas that need to be collected. And also mentioned that, believe it or not, there's an encampment outside the Veterans Memorial Library that was dealt with. And then lastly, I attended the 2026 MTA Capital Conference held at the Lansing Center. As a full day of speakers providing township folks from throughout the state on first the capital update, their legislative and lobbying efforts that MTA does. There's bills they're for, there's bills they're neutral on, there's bills that they oppose, and the Director of Government Relations, Judy Allen, went through a whole host of various bills. Also, we had a chance to learn about the importance of the 2030 census that will be coming up, and they stressed the importance of getting a census of every household, because that will impact billions of state dollars over the next 10 years after the census. And so, very important to get as accurate a count as possible. And we did learn that Miranda might speak a little bit on about information on data centers and the siting of data centers, which can be very, very large projects that can consume considerable amounts of energy and conference. So those were some of the highlights of the Capitol Conference. Any questions from anyone?
The director for public safety for the city, did he only talk about the homeless encampments in the city, or did he discuss others that he was aware of that are more county broad?
He stuck to the city and into the township. Areas that he spoke about were property north of the Myers store, Vites Woods area, kinda behind the old Farrell building off of Pickard along the railroad tracks, were a few of them that he got into.
I was talking with a community member today who relayed to me that they felt there was an encampment behind Hobby Lobby, and I was not aware of that, but,
He did mention out behind the
He did.
shopping mall that that's an area as well, yes.
interesting. The battery storage project that you mentioned right at the beginning with the county,
Yes.
do you have more detail on that? I'm kinda curious about it.
I don't,
Okay.
other than it's on their radar, so they're trying to do the groundwork to identify if it's feasible, identify a location, if something moves forward. I can't tell you what company or what size, but typically they're gonna locate those near a transmission, electric transmission lines.
Yeah, I kind of figured, okay. Is that for the, primarily the solar? Or is this for?
Yeah, it would be for solar battery. I don't, it could be some wind turbine as well, but I think the focus was mostly on the battery
On the new,
farms,
yeah, the
or on
new solar farms. Okay, yeah, thank you.
Yep.
So I attended the CRC meeting, or the Cultural and Recreation Commission for the uninitiated, on March 18th, and the big topic of discussion was the new elevator that is supposed to have undergone its final inspection on the 20th of this month. So they for all intents and purposes, they should have an operational and inspected elevator as of today, or as of this meeting earlier this week, last week. We had just a discussion about the fact that the ice arena and the gymnastics facility just started their spring sessions last week. This is kind of the last hurrah for the ice arena, and they're getting ready to close down the ice for the season, which means they're going to be doing a work day of painting and updating or not updating locker rooms, but painting the locker rooms and doing some maintenance stuff before they close down the ice for the season. They are discussing potentially upgrading the Martin Ice Arena because it resembles how it did in the 1990s when it was opened, and they kind of feel like maybe we need to have a press box and maybe some new seating, other upgrades that they could do to make a more enjoyable visit for people who come for different sporting events. I learned more about Zamboni machines than I ever thought I would have any context for learning about. But apparently ours passed the technical inspections and has a maintenance plan that it's doing very well for Zamboni machines. We are supposed to be getting a update on a project to put in new cameras into the gymnastics facility, like they have at Maury Courts for security purposes, and we should be getting a quote next meeting. So that's about it.
Very good.
I attended the road commission meeting on March 12th. They went over the 26 projects upcoming, township by township, and the ones we already knew about when we went to the when we went to the meeting to start the season off. Things are rolling along that way. And then they're going to join the Rural Road Alliance of Michigan to get a presence at the table, because as it is, there are 34 or 48 county road commissions are expected to join this, to get a bigger voice in Lansing. Money is down, income, revenue is down, and so they're in kind of a tight spot.
Very good, thank you. 43 out of the 80?
No, 34 or
34.
48, are expected to join this.
I expect there might be more in the long run.
I hope so.
Clerk Cody?
I went to the Train the Trainer class and got recertified to train the election inspectors. We're having a training on April 1st for the new or just to renew the other ones. We're still looking for somebody to run for the Board of Trustees position. That expires to turn in all your paperwork April 21st. And so if you're looking to run, you need to get everything filled out and turned in, so.
Do they need to turn that into the county, or can they do it through your office?
Part of it come here first. I have the forms ready to go here, and then 2 of the 3 forms or copies of need to go to the county. 1 original and 1 copy need to be turned into the county.
Question.
Hmm.
I was wondering, Clerk Cody, if you can identify what ID is required for voting in Union Township, I hear things about birth certificates,
I can
marriage
post it on the
licenses.
website. And for voting, all you need is the affidavit, sign the affidavit of identity when you're voting,
If you don't have an ID.
if you don't have an ID.
Okay, and that ID would just simply be a driver's license?
Driver's license, state ID.
Okay.
There's certain tribal IDs you can use. It's gotta be a picture one, and it's the certain tribes, there's like a book of it. I was gonna get a copy of that book, that's a newer thing. That's kinda cool. I want-
So that's for voting, but when you register with your office, you, at that point, show ID and.
Yeah, you wanna bring in a picture ID,
Right.
just to
So
state.
it's not just trusting the person, and they have to show that they are who they are.
You hear things
Say they are.
about, real ID on your license and enhanced, information on your license, and just, wanna totally be clear
It's any state,
what people will
yeah,
need.
state issued ID. It can be the CDL or whatever, or you can even use your passport too.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. Trustee Thering?
Thank you. I attended my first city meeting. It was a good meeting. They started out the meeting by introducing Emily Withrow. She is now part of the Department of Public Safety. She's an office professional, so they had an introduction of her. They also had the introduction and swearing in of a paid on-call firefighter, Andrew Funnel, which I thought was very interesting. He swore in right there, and they said a few nice words about him, and there was plenty of firefighters there to support him. I thought that was great. They had a public hearing for the proposed changes to amend Chapter 93 of Mount Pleasant City Code to adopt the 2021 edition of the International Fire Code. The change that I read, and I hope I have this correct, is omitting Appendix M. Now, I do not know what Appendix M is. I'm gonna let you know right now. But that's just, these are things that kind of happened before I had gotten there. So maybe that's something I can learn in that respect. All of them put down their top, or they have 5 or so prioritizations for the city request for the Saginaw Chippewa Indian Tribe 2% allocation. So they picked 5 and put it in the order that they felt was important. So the top 5 that I have down here, if I took all the information down correctly, was 1, the airport runway rehab, 2, airport operations, 3, peak, 4, landfill remediation on 1303 North Franklin, and that was 4, sorry, and then 5 is the lime disposal. I don't have much information on what the lime disposal is. A couple of the other ones that had, I'll call it 1 vote, was Broadway sidewalk, condition assessment of the water main, and sewer relining. Those were 3 other ones that they had that they mentioned, but they only had like one person just pick those. So the first 5 were what they had chosen in the order of what they felt was the importance. Not everybody picked that order in that order, but at the end of the day, more people picked yeah. And then they had just a brief discussion, what they had learned at the Michigan Municipal League CapCon 2026, and what they talked about was something similar to what we did, sending a letter to our state leaders in regarding to the zoning legislation, and how important it is that every community is unique and we are all not the same, so therefore zoning should not be the same and should be allowed to continue with the municipalities at hand. So. And that's my report for today.
Thanks. Glad you're able to go.
Yeah.
I left out a couple. Do you want me to name them all?
Sure.
So, it says Michigan driver's license, the state ID card must not be expired. ID issued by the U.S. government or any state, U.S. passport or passport card, student ID from accredited high school or higher education institution, a military identification, and the tribal identification. Sorry.
Great.
I just didn't want to skip one.
Thanks.
Thanks.
As our director mentioned, EDA did not have a quorum last week, so we did not meet, but I want to follow up on trustee Ulver's comments. I've been vice chair of the EDA for a little while now. I think 6 years, in that neighborhood. I have not had to be chair once except to open a meeting for about 20 minutes. So credit to our chair, Tom Keequam, who does a great job and is always present. So similar situation, I feel. Just a reminder, our joint meeting of the boards, I don't have the date in front of me, I think it's the 22nd of April. 15th? Thank you. Like I said, I didn't have it in front of me, and so I appreciate the correction there. April 15th.
What is it?
Yeah, I don't think people are.
April 15th, 6, 7?
6 p.m.
6 p.m.
Jameson Hall.
So this is probably most important for our liaison to the planning commission, and I know our director will also prepare our planning commission. And the chair, Squatrito, is familiar with the process. But we do that so that we can hear from the boards and the boards can hear from us, and interaction between all. It's a great place to listen to ownership from my perspective. But in the past, this board wanted reports to not just include backlooking, but help give us direction for our ends and our budgeting process. I'm assuming that goal has not changed, or has it? That we still want to be forward-looking also.
Absolutely.
So if you want to piggyback on our director, because I'm sure you will say some words too, but as board liaison, you carry a special voice. Encourage people to come. Will do. Yeah. All right, anything else on that? Moving on, we have a consent agenda. As mentioned already, warrants have been reviewed and no issues found. Happy to entertain any motions.
Motion to approve.
Support? Motion by Cody, support by Over. Any other comments, questions? Seeing none, all in favor of approving consent agenda as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, same sign. Consent agenda passes unanimously. That takes us to new business. Policy governance 1.0, 1.5, annual report of ends. Mr. Stuhldreher, I really appreciated what was in the packet on this, but I'd be happy to allow you to introduce this.
Thank you and good evening, everyone. Our global ends, which is I think the foundational statement of what the township does and what it's all about. They begin on page 2 of your governance policy manual. And there is a report that I provided in your agenda packet that begins on page 26 of the agenda packet. The report is also page numbered, so to avoid any confusion, the packet page number is 26 where this report begins at. And it goes through page 47 of your packet. At the highest level, the statement of your ends reads as follows. Union Township exists to support a sustainable community through the most effective use of resources that achieve the highest quality of life. The highest quality of life encompasses sustained or enhanced 1, community well-being and common good. 2, prosperity through economic diversity, cultural diversity, and social diversity. 3, health and safety. 4, natural environment. And 5, commerce. In reviewing the administration's compliance with the Global Ends policy, I interpret the ends policies to be the primary driver that directs all activity of the township administration. In other words, the goal of the administration is to focus all efforts, resources towards advancing the various ends that are articulated in that policy document. I justify that interpretation based on my knowledge of policy governance, how it's supposed to work in general, and more specifically based on my reading of the ends that are contained in your governance policy document, which I believe are for the most part clearly written, and they have all been approved by the Board of Trustees. This report, it attempts to articulate and communicate how the organization has advanced the ball, so to speak, on these various ends. What we've done to, because many of these are, it's not like there's a hard stop to many of these. So what have we done throughout 2025 in this case in relation to advancing the ball on these ends? Compliance, there's a lot of data in your report. The format of the report is a bit overwhelming, I'll say. I've developed the report to flow with the nesting that occurs in the ends. You have top lines and then subsections, sub-subsections. So I've tried to place activities within those subsections. It can be kind of hard to read. Excuse me. In addition, you have received monthly reports throughout the year of 2025 where additional, I'll say more granular detail has been provided about these over the course of the year. I'm not going to read the whole report, but I would like to highlight the following. And remember that this is activity that occurred during 2025. So for instance, even though I am mentioning as part of compliance and advancement of these ends, when I say the FY 2024 annual audit received the highest opinion from the auditors and was free from any material misstatements, I mention that because the audit report was provided to you in 2025 for fiscal year 2024. As it relates to 25 annual budgets, we amended those as needed, with the general fund ending the year $614,000 to the good, positive variance. Right, no, I'm sorry, I shouldn't say positive variance. What I should say is revenue over expenditures in the amount of $614,000, which was ends up being a contribution to fund balance for 2025 fiscal year. You'll hear more about that in April of this year when you get the audit results from the auditor. We are under the community well-being and common good highlighted. That's number one of your ends. Community well-being, common good. So in that regard, I want to report out that the township staff organized several special events throughout the year, primarily highlighting we held our third annual Care Store community Care Store drive. We took a truckload of that product down to the Care Store. We're doing another one of those this year. You see that out in front. Completed over 2,800 misdig marking requests for the water and sewer. And you know, a lot of what this township does, well, a lot of what any local government does, is really focus on the nuts and bolts of what we do and what we need to be doing. And so, you know, people may look at, oh, misdig marking, you know, okay, why am I bother talking about that? Well, one, because we did 2,800 of them throughout the year. And then two, that marking allows for other folks that come along behind us that are going to be digging in the ground to try to avoid our water, sewer, pipes, and other utilities that we have underground. So I feel like those kinds of things are worth reporting out. We did distribute the 2025 Consumer Confidence Report to the citizens. That was submitted and certified by Eagle as having been delivered. We presented the results of the Township Hall feasibility study to the board. In working with our attorney, the Community and Economic Development Office prepared and the board passed a blight control ordinance earlier this year, which is all contributing to the community well-being and common good. In our work with the the East Downtown Development Authority, they helped fund or funded in its entirety the banners that we saw along Pickard Avenue, the flowers that are hung by the poles. We've been refurbishing the benches and the trash receptacles that you see along the corridor there. Holiday decorations were hung. We do grass cutting, weed control, tree trimming throughout that corridor, all contributing to the very nice visual that you see as you enter the township and that you stop seeing once you exit the township to a large degree. That is all, in addition to just the appearance, it also helps to attract and retain businesses along that corridor as well. So it serves a number of purposes. The EDA also continued to help support the Mount Pleasant Municipal Airport crew car. That continues to get good reviews, and you see it occasionally around town. That's for pilots to use when they are here on layover, and that way they can visit our local businesses and restaurants while they're here. We went live with a new website design or website presence in May of 2025. That includes frequently asked component or frequently asked questions component. It's much more robust than the old website. We have online application capabilities. We continue to expand those, whether it's for applications for a site plan review or a building permit. You can do almost all of that now online. We regularly update that website. We're able to push out announcements and other information. People have the ability, the choice to sign up for text or email announcements that when we post something on the website under those categories, it's automatically pushed out. We continue to see increases of folks that are signing up for that schedule. Of course, all our board meetings and agendas and packets are all on there for all our boards, along with quite a bit of history that I think goes back at least to 2017 or earlier for many of these boards. Sort of related, we've been working for the last couple of years on digitizing many of the plans, building plans, site plans that are in this building, digitizing them with the help of the state, and then loading those back into our electronic databases. That project was going on throughout the year and continues into this year. We spent a lot of time, resources on training of our staff, making training available, in some cases requiring the training. We also pushed that out and made particular emphasis to highlight that with the various boards and commissions that we have volunteers on, as well as this board here. I know that many of you have taken advantage of those opportunities. I think that money is very well spent. The return is, I don't think, particularly measurable, but it's very important, unfortunately, and it doesn't apply to us, but you'll often see those types of things cut when an organization is having financial difficulty. I would argue that that's the exact worst time to be doing that kind of thing. We, of course, do quarterly reads and billings for our water and sewer operations. We billed over $5 million out to the ratepayers. We manage fairly aggressively a shut-off program, which since that message is out there, it doesn't need to come into play too often, but when it is required, we shut the water off pretty religiously, and then we have a pretty quick turnaround often for the people coming in, and we've by then figured out a way to pay the bill. We did complete 88 inspections and replacement of water meters, so as soon as we see a sign that those are going bad, we're out in the field replacing it. I did not count, but I would guess that there were well over 100 FOIA requests received throughout the year. Every one of those was responded to timely, whether within the first 5 days or within the time that we requested an extension. We have multiple departments throughout the organization that spend a lot of time on both McDonald and Jameson Park in terms of upkeep, all the way through to supporting Little League, softball leagues, pony leagues, the baseball arena that uses McDonald Park as well as the tournaments that go on there. We had, I'm not sure how many elections in 2025, but those were all conducted very well, error-free, none were contested. So I'd like to point that out, particularly in this day and age. As agent, we collect taxes for half a dozen or more taxing units. 25, we collected over $16 million on their behalf, whether it's taxes or special assessments for us and the county. And that, of course, is a real savings for all these other taxing units that are allowed to tax, but they don't have to go through the process of collecting those taxes. The Planning Commission took action to approve 11 land use development related applications during 2025. You may recall that in the fall of 24, we amended the zoning code to give a little bit more discretion to the zoning administrator to approve both final site plans that have approved preliminary site plan approval from the Planning Commission.
Just a quick question on that. From your perspective, has that smoothed the process? Has that expedited the system? Has it made things better as perhaps was intended?
It speeds things along. If a project was required to go to the site plan, required to go to the Planning Commission, and they approved the preliminary site plan, and they might have had a couple comments on it, and then the next step, the applicant would then need to submit a final site plan, and if that continued to comport with what the Planning Commission approved, the zoning administrator is able to approve that, which eliminates another meeting. So there's a few $100 costs and savings for that meeting. And then probably more importantly, you've saved, probably not a month, but several weeks where that final site plan gained approval.
Thank you.
In that regard, the zoning administrator approved 4 final site plans and 5 minor site plans that didn't even need to go to the Planning Commission. Our Community Economic Development Director chairs the Mount Pleasant Airport Joint Operations and Management Board. That's a board comprised of city, township, tribal, university, county, Mid-Michigan Development Corporation representatives, and they've been working pretty hard over the last year or so trying to figure out how to not only maintain but expand some of the runways there. It's quite a lift. Of course, it's all FAA regulated, but they have been making some progress on that. Planning Commission continued working on the master plan update, and they began to get involved in the recreation plan that we're wanting to have completed this year. And as it relates to community well-being, we have a few housing developments within the community that are geared towards the less fortunate, lower income. They have pilots associated with them, and those pilot agreements require the owner to make payments and do certain other things. And assessor and community development director monitor that activity. Under the health and safety category, we applied for and received reimbursement from the state. We do have a few state-owned properties in the township, so we can get $10,000 to $15,000 for that effort. We collaborate with many jurisdictions as it relates to code enforcement, ordinance enforcement, including the Mount Pleasant Fire Department, the Isabella County Drain Commissioner, the Health Department, the county's trade inspectors that are all involved in helping process application through the system. Twice last year we did fire hydrant flushing and flow testing repairs as needed. That does two things. It helps the water quality within the system, and then it helps ensure that when we need to operate those when the fire department needs to operate those hydrants, that they are in fact operable. I mentioned a lot of training that occurs throughout the year, and at the time I was focused mostly on trying to make sure we're using best practices, but there's also a lot of required safety related training that occurs throughout the year and across the organization. Stormwater operator training, OSHA safety compliance training, forklift safety training, certification, all occurred throughout the year. And remember we're talking about health and safety, replaced all the cameras here at Township Hall, which included the addition of a camera focused on the ballot drop box. All the other cameras throughout the organization or all the other facilities were done in 2024. 920 linear feet of new sidewalks were installed in 2025, and that included some key pieces that we've been working on for a number of years. Frontage in front of Red Lobster at the corner of Bluegrass and Mission Road. And we've been working with Indian Pines. They have sidewalks in front there. They cut out into the drive area. We've gotten them to do a little bit better job of comporting with their site plan, some requirements that they had caused to have a site plan approved, and we use that opportunity to require some work to be done in that area. Since 2019, which isn't that long ago, we've added almost 4 miles of sidewalk to the community. There's more detail on that item on page 8 of the report, which is a different page than what's in your agenda packet, but you'll be able to, I think, find that. Zoning administrator approved 93 zoning approval actions for things like sign permits, yard sale permits, zoning approval letters as it relates to, as part of a step for getting a building permit approved. We responded to 22 at a minimum separate sites where it was reported there were violations of the ordinance or the zoning code or the blight code. Some of these places, as you might expect, we end up visiting several times throughout the year. But that's just kind of the nature of the beast. And there's a more detailed report contained in the report in your packet on page 10. The building official is issued 236 building permits during 2025 of construction value over $18 million. There's more information regarding that in your report. The rental inspector conducted over 5,500 inspections in 2025, everything from hotels, which you can get a lot of units done in a shorter period of time, but duplexes, apartments, We did find it necessary to re-inspect a significantly higher number of units than we did in '24, but we believe that was due to primarily some turnover in management of a couple of our large apartment communities. And also, there was a large number of smoke detectors that were due to be replaced this year, so it takes a little closer look to make sure those were changed out. Natural environment is one of our global ends. You'll find on page 13 that continues to be a very well-utilized facility, whether it's the hall at Jameson or the pavilion at Jameson. I think there's a table in the report, or the pavilions at McDonald Park. We continue to edit our GIS system and add data to that. And update is needed. 744 hydrants are now in the GIS system. Many of those have been, but we continued adding to them. 971 manholes. We now know that we have 335,000 plus feet of water main and 275,000 plus feet of sewer mains. And that all helps with our asset management and taking care of those facilities. The water department spent a lot of time in 2025 on the drinking water state revolving fund grant that we received in the amount of almost $11 million. Well 12, water main installation, water treatment plant upgrades, lead service line project. We're down to, we're getting close to the completion of that project. I believe there's a little over $2 million left of that grant to spend. There's been a couple times where we brought forward change orders to the board to spend as much of that as we can legitimately spend. I would assume that we will be returning some of that money to the state, but that is okay. Lead service is a big project. It's been ongoing for the last couple of years. It's going to continue to be ongoing. We've identified the vast majority of the infrastructure lead related that needs to be replaced. If there were several, maybe more than several, a couple dozen at the most though, letters that we had to send out where we had some questions we weren't able to ascertain with finality whether or not the service coming into the building or the residence up to the water meter contained lead or not. Next item is sort of like payroll. You just expect it to happen. It does 99.9% of the time, but when it doesn't, you know, there's a lot of consternation around that. So I can report out that we treated 408 million gallons of water throughout the year, of which 382 million gallons were billed. That produces a 6% loss ratio, which I'd reported out earlier for some other reason, but that's a very, very low loss ratio. There's always going to be loss between what you're pumping and treating versus what you build. Easiest example is water used for a fire is not billed out. So that's part of the loss ratio. You'll see ratios much higher than that when you have water mains, valving, and all that are in disrepair. And you'll see larger water loss ratios, and eventually you'll see sinkholes, which we don't have any around here. We rehabilitated 5 sanitary sewer manhole structures just on River Road. 2 pump stations were refurbished. On the sewer side, we treated 470 million gallons of sanitary waste through the wastewater treatment plant up north of here. Our ordinances do contain features and requirements that do help protect the natural land that we have here, whether it's agricultural or parkland or just walking around the township. And the environment is spoken to fairly heavily within our master plan as well. So from a policy perspective, there's a lot there that helps protect our natural resources, whether they be land or water. As it relates to commerce, our module, that tracks new building constructions, and it tracks additions, alterations, and repairs. Both of those have high volatility year to year. Sometimes you'll see different stakeholder groups take pieces and parts out of those reports and comment on them. And while it may be factually accurate, I'm not sure it provides a real good picture of what's going on in the township from a commercial development, industrial development perspective. On page 18 and 19 of the report, you'll see some discussion on, and a graph on these various pieces and parts, and then a top line index is all commercial and industrial utility category. That's blue on that graph. We think that presents a little more fair, balanced picture of the type of activity going on in the township as it relates to commerce. Our community and economic development director sits on a couple boards that are real beneficial to the township. He's on the Michigan Downtown Association Board of Directors. That's a statewide organization that has influence in Michigan downtowns and DDAs, of which we have 2 of them here in the township. He's also a member of the organization's legislative advocacy committee, so I'm often hearing things that are going on at the state before I hear about them from MTA, because we have that line, that connection there. And in that role, he's able to help educate legislatures on things like brownfield redevelopment, tax increment financing, and has some influence on the development of legislation in that arena. He also is representing the township on the East Michigan Council of Governments Regional Development Team. That group recently prepared and updated a 5-year comprehensive economic development strategy document. This organization covers a 14-county region. A lot of attention in the past has been given to, sometimes it's asked, why don't we have pre-application meetings? Well, we always have. There's information on that on page 20 of your report. I believe we held 56 of those throughout the year. It's more than one a week. And so in conclusion, it's my position that the administration, with the, certainly the help of the Board of Trustees, our volunteers, all the staff that comprise the administration, that we have indeed delivered services and focused all of our time and energy in support of creating and sustaining, maintaining a sustainable community through the most effective use of our resources, and that we are indeed achieving the highest quality of life in the areas of community well-being, common good, prosperity through economic diversity, cultural and social diversity, health and safety, natural environment, and commerce. I would like to personally thank the Board of Trustees, all the volunteers, whether they're sitting on one of our boards of commission or just showing up to help with a cleanup day that we hold annually, all the staff, department directors for their hard work and dedication in service to Union Township. Be happy to answer any questions you may have now or in the future. I know it's a lengthy report, but thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Questions, comments?
I'd make a comment that the information in our board packet tonight, you know, it's a lot of fun to go buy a mini excavator or look at the specs of that and whatnot, but this really gives anybody who would take the time to read this what goes on in our township. And the documentation, as Manager Stuhldreher points out, on the global ends policy that we just looked at, that drives virtually every vision and accomplishment that goes on here at the township. It's stated that this policy is the primary driver that directs all activities of the township administration, which comes from the board's ends that we collaboratively identify. And I'm just so proud to be able to read what's been going on, how it's accomplished, the financial situation of the township. And then we'll be getting to next, this, we've been talking about the management and staff accomplishing what they need to do, but what's being expected of them to do on behalf of the citizens. And then the next information we'll talk about code of conduct of the Board of Trustees. So personally, for me, tonight's packet of information is so powerful and so rewarding to go through it. And a couple things that I'd mention. I look forward to, as we work this year on the Parks and Recreation Master Plan, my anticipation to learn more about the comprehensive view of what we'll be doing with Jamison Park. And is exciting for me to also see that it was in the manager's report that a plaque has been purchased to commemorate the namesake of Jamison Park, Gladys Rose Jamison. So there'll be some information out there on the history of the park and who it was named after and the effort that she took to establish a recreational area in that part of our township. So it is with just great delight to have the chance to read through this and then to, of course, listen to our manager's narration of it and all the work of the department heads that go in with this. I will ask one question, just if you have a number. You went through a couple of zoning ordinance text amendments, and was interested to learn roughly the number of home-based occupation activities regarding firearm dealers, if we've seen any of those since the text amendment.
I'd have to defer to Mr. Nanny. My guess is maybe one that drove that amendment to the code. But
All right.
just one.
All right. And again, it was mentioned, not everything's perfect. There is some enforcement activities that need to take place when you're in a community this size. Not everybody will necessarily follow the letter of the law on their properties, and some intervention needs to happen in that area. But there were a couple in there that stood out of interest.
Yeah.
But
And in the, if I may, and I don't mean to interrupt you, but
no,
in the annual report, there's a graph, I don't recall what page it is, on our enforcement activity. And it peaked a few years ago, and then it's been slowly declining since then, which is exactly what I would expect. We knew, I knew coming in that that was of a particular area of emphasis for the board. And so time, money, resources, hiring has allowed us to ramp up that enforcement. You see that in the graph. The line is going up from left to right, and then it peaks. And I interpret the decline to people are now more knowledgeable. They understand that we mean business, and so there's just less of it to enforce. Having said that, there's always, like you said, things that we're gonna have to go do, but I wanted to make that point because seeing the downward sloping nature of the curve, I don't want anybody to think that that's due to lack of enforcement. I think it's due to a better informed citizenry that is understands what the township expects. We hold ourselves accountable. I hold myself accountable. You hold me accountable. I hold you accountable. I hold the citizens accountable. So, thank you for mentioning that.
and then the other thing that stands out, I've heard, that we're tough to deal with contractors and things, but reviewing the number of new building permits and permits for additions and things, and the values of those permits, I don't really have anything that I'm comparing it to, but the raw numbers sound quite impressive, that there's a lot of activity going on in the township as far as construction and improvements. And so
There is a lot of activity. We are always working on improving processes, but Union Township, as it should, has standards. And those standards are articulated in our zoning code, which has been updated and approved by a planning commission, by a board of trustees. And we expect those standards to be met.
as do the citizens and owners of the community. And then finally, next month, we'll look forward to the report from the financial audit group that we contract with. And that's been a pretty glowing and well-received document that our auditors have been giving us the last few years. So
And while I don't want to monopolize the conversation
I don't
on that
anticipate a
point,
change.
you're gonna see audit results, audit report at your April 8th meeting, which, when I first got here, you were seeing those in June. And then you began to see them a little earlier in June. Maybe you saw it in May last year, but now we're seeing it early April.
benefit for all of us because it's more pertinent and
Yep.
close to the time. So, thank you, and again, I'm just amazed and so pleased with the information that's in our packet today.
Thank you.
Out of all the reports that we look at, I enjoy this one the most. And out of all of the good points that you can read on here, the one that sticks out with me the most is from having been on the planning commission, the pre-application meetings that the community and economic development director and zoning administrator take part in. And you can see over several years how that has, along with some of the changes that we've made, has really helped. And you touched on it a little bit, Mark. I believe it helped with getting things through smoothly, to the point where, again, I think you touched on, Mark, they can come in some cases with their preliminary site plan and only have a couple little things to go through and don't have to come back to the planning commission, which again saves several weeks. And you can see through the years how that's gotten better and better, and you're seeing more people being able to take advantage of that opportunity. So I think it's a report that's worthwhile as a board to look at amongst ourselves before in September, before we start to prepare for our manager's evaluation.
Mm-hmm.
You take that report along with the things that have happened throughout the year, and it makes for a more informed, in a positive way, evaluation. So, thank you, Mark and Mr. Nanny. Thank you, Mr. Stuhldreyer, Mr. Nanny, and everyone for all the things that you do to make this report possible.
Thank you.
I'll reinforce some of the comments that I really enjoy reading this too. There was a lot here. I appreciate you going through it. It's a great segue into our April meeting as far as what's happened in the past year. But now we have to make sure we're forward looking, right? There were two things that always catch my attention. I shouldn't say always. One has caught my attention for the last few years, and that is the 2023 outlier of construction value.
What happened in 2023?
And that's why I wanted to point that out, because if the public's looking at this, I'm sure they're going, well, what is happening there? And I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm correct that it is the county jail and sheriff's office.
Mm-hmm.
And that was in the neighborhood of 40,000 or 40+ million. And I wish that was almost taken out, because it is that outlier that's skewing that graph. So I wanted to lift that up.
Can we get an asterisk on that next year, includes this
Right.
project, just so that,
Yeah.
Right.
And then the other is Jameson Hall reservations. I don't know why that surprises me, but it does. And I happened to be in the office when we were doing reservations for this coming year. And Ms. Green said, there's a line of people that morning when we start taking reservations for this year to get their reservation in, because they want to get that in. And I don't know why I'm surprised by that, but the use of Jameson Hall is fantastic. And it was well worth the upgrades that have been put into it. And is that we're having a joint meeting, right?
mhm.
Yes.
So I get to see it again. So I thought that was a cool data point. Anything else from anyone?
It's almost- it's close, isn't it? I'll let you know what our, the percentage that it was reserved last year. I bet you it's a very high number. Not being used 100% of the time is available, but it's being used a lot.
Yeah, that'd be great to see. All right, we good? Moving on to new business B, policy governance 3.3, board members' code of conduct. Let me jump to that myself. I'll read just for the public the high-level part of the policy. It reads, "The board commits itself and its members to ethical, businesslike, and lawful conduct, including proper use of authority and appropriate decorum when acting as board members." I'm not going to read the entire policy, but I'm assuming our board members here have reread this again. And so let's kind of go through that. Anybody feel that we are not in compliance with this?
No.
I would agree. Anything that we should be improving upon regarding this?
Not at this time.
Nothing? Anything missing in the policy? Anything that shouldn't be there? Anything that needs to be modified?
Seems solid at this point to me.
It's pretty complete. Yeah, and I don't, as we all said, I feel like we're in compliance. And I would say that that has not always been the case in the past. But I think this board as a whole has been very compliant with that. So anybody have anything else on this? Okay, we'll revisit this section next year or as we go through the policy as a whole again. That brings us to extended public comment, which is restricted to 5 minutes regarding any issue. If you choose to address the public, please state your name and address for the record. And with that, we will open extended public comment at 8:22 p.m. The record show nobody still in person.
Couple people online.
Couple people online. We'll give you just a moment. If you do want to speak to the public, please raise your hand remotely, and you'll be given the floor.
Your cup really stands out in the video.
Does.
Seeing no hands risen, let the record show going once, going twice, going 3 times that we had no extended public comment, which will be closed at 8:23 p.m. That takes us to item 13 on the agenda, manager's comments. Mr. Stuhldreher.
Thank you, and I just have 2 brief ones. It was mentioned earlier that the city took action to update their ordinances as it relates to the International Fire Code. Now that the city has moved, we are able to update our ordinance as well, which we'll be doing. Not sure exactly when, but sometime in 2025, certainly. And then the last thing is just a reminder that Care Store Drive goes till the end of the month. And although it was mentioned earlier, a reminder for everyone that the joint meeting is April 15th at Jameson Hall at 6 p.m. That's all I have. Thank you.
Very good, thank you. That takes us to final board member comment. Trustee Thering,
I'm all set, thank you.
Clerk Cody,
All set.
Trustee Olver,
All set?
Trustee Lannon.
Yeah, I'd just like to mention and thank you, Senator Roger Hauk, who took time to meet with us at our lunch at the Capitol conference that Miranda and Lori and I attended. And one thing I didn't really mention, there was a lot of discussion about some House bills, 5529 and 5530, and some additional about housing reform, and that was discussion about the state taking zoning some zoning rules or zoning away from the local level. And things that we could do is reduce the minimum sizes of lots, minimize the size of dwellings, allow for mobile homes to be in, and duplexes to be in any residential area. And so some things that, as we do smart planning and work on our zoning to create the community that our citizens want, there's work at the state level, as I understand it, to remove that work from the local level and take it over. So that was pretty important stuff that we're talking about there.
The state has made a lot of moves in the last few years to take away local control.
I have this handy QR code if any of you guys want to scan it later.
Treasurer Rogers gave me one yesterday.
Yep.
Thank you. Trustee Lay?
Oh, to piggyback, some of the things that they were talking about are very alarming. Yeah, that's all.
Treasurer Rogers?
I lost that.
I just have a question. I guess I could have asked this during the manager's comments. How often does the airport board meet?
I believe that's monthly. Monthly.
And then Hannah's meets?
I'm sorry?
Hannah's, Bark Park meets?
We meet quarterly.
Okay. And the reason I asked that is, in the management team meeting, yesterday, the airport came up and conversation went to something that, I had worked on back in, I believe it was 13. This was regarding, it's not important what it is, because where I'm going with this is, it might be useful for this board to be informed of what goes on at the airport board, because I think it's such a critical community gem or facility. If we do board member reports, would you be willing to report on airport during that same time when you're here twice or once a month?
I think that's an excellent addition, yes, thank you.
And then Hannah's, I'd like to hear updates from Hannah's, and I know you put that sometimes in your written reports. Would you have objection to me calling on you regarding Hannah's Bar Park?
None at all.
Because is this board okay with that?
Yes.
I think it's great.
I mean, we call on ourselves for the boards that we attend, but we've also appointed, in this case, a couple staff members that represent us at those boards. Be nice to hear from those. And with that, our business is concluded. We'll adjourn at 8:28 p.m.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.